I knew the way, I would take you home.
Hi everybody, hope you're safe. Day 31. So we provoked the Mexicans into throwing the first punch, and then all hell breaks out. And what you end up with is the Mexican War, Mexican-American War. Obviously, we're going to win. We offered them $30 million to buy it. They said no, and so we stuck an army in their front yard and dared them. And after a while, they eventually come after us. And so, the story in the United States is we got attacked by Mexico. I just want to tell you real fast, this will be the last day of notes, and then Monday and Tuesday you're going to get your test. If you've been keeping track of the multiple choice questions on Edpuzzle, you should be in pretty good shape. But I'm going to try to finish this today. While people are going to argue about this war, whether it's good or not, it's already started. Even before the war is declared by Congress, Zachary Taylor's men are going to win some fights south of the Nueces River, and they're going to drive the Mexican army back into Mexico. If you don't think this was planned, all these other things happen too quickly to not be coordinated. Stephen Kearny is going to be ordered to attack the province of New Mexico. He's going to capture Santa Fe without a fight. There's almost no one in New Mexico. He's going to claim New Mexico for the United States, and then he's going to march. He's going to march towards California. Simultaneously, and they don't even know about it yet, about the American War. They don't even know about the American War with Mexico. American settlers near Sonoma, California, are going to revolt against the Californios, against the Mexicans who are in California. They're outnumbered at this point. It's more Americans than Mexicans. They're going to declare war, and they're going to declare California's independence. They're going to declare California its own country. And to represent the new country, they're going to create a flag with a star and a bear. And that's California's state flag today. But this thing becomes known as the Bear Flag Revolt. One of the people who helped start that war was an Army explorer by the name of John C. Fremont, who will be the first Republican to ever run for president 4 years before Abraham Lincoln runs. But he was an Army scout. He was in the Sierra Nevadas when he heard that the United States might go to war with Mexico, and so he turned around, went back into Sacramento Valley, and he told everybody this, and he started encouraging the Americans in California to revolt, and they did. And then once they did, he joined them. While this Bear Flag Revolt is happening, the U.S. Navy is going to take Monterey, California, the capital of the province of California, and then they will soon after take San Diego, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. And so this thing kind of ends up like an avalanche for the Mexican government. In August 1846, Commodore Stockton is going to declare California part of the United States, and General Kearny, who took New Mexico, is going to be appointed the governor of California by President Polk. And so now we've claimed California, now we've claimed New Mexico. In Mexico, General Taylor, Zachary Taylor, future president, loved war heroes, is going to start to get his reinforcements. As those reinforcements show up, he's going to drive the Mexican army deeper and deeper into Mexico. And out of desperation, the Mexican government is going to call for Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, the guy from the Alamo who was in charge and suspended the Constitution, which, by the way, afterwards he gets exiled from the country. He spends time in the United States in exile. He spends time in Cuba. Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, the Mexican government is going to beg him to come back and save them, because he's very controversial, but he was probably their greatest military leader up to this point. And so he's actually in exile in Cuba when they asked him to come back. And he assures the United States that if they let him back into, because the United States is going to have to put a blockade there in Mexico, he assures the United States that if they allow him back into Mexico, that he will be able to help find a diplomatic solution to this whole thing. And so they let him back in, and as soon as they let him back in, he goes straight back to leading the Mexican army. And so the great hope for Mexico is that Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna will be able to save them again versus these Americans. In 1847, he's going to lead his troops north and confront Taylor's army at Buena Vista. Santa Anna's outnumbers Zachary Taylor. He's going to send him a letter that demands his surrender. Taylor's going to refuse. The fight's going to break out. And 2 days later, Santa Anna's going to be defeated, and he's going to retreat. President Polk is very worried about the success that Zachary Taylor is having. There's an election coming up. He's starting to gain a lot of popularity, and I keep saying it, we love war heroes for presidents. And so he starts to worry that he may attempt to run for president in 1848. And if he does, he won't be able to win. And so President Polk is going to take the command of the Mexican-American War off of Zachary Taylor, and he's going to give it to General Winfield Scott, a guy whose nickname was Old Fuss and Feathers. Winfield Scott will still be in charge of the army initially when the Civil War begins, but he's by that time too old and too fat to even get onto a horse. Scott's going to sail into the port of Veracruz, which is the strongest fortress in Mexico. They're going to shell the place for 88 hours, and Veracruz will fall. They're going to push inland 200 miles towards Mexico City. Santa Anna is going to try to stop them at a place called Cerro Gordo in mid-April, and he's going to fail to do it. This is kind of fun. Santa Anna after the Alamo and stuff is going to be brought back again in the intermission between these two things to help the Mexicans fight the French, and he's going to actually lose his leg. He'll have his leg buried with full military honors, and so he'll have to have a fake leg for the rest of his life. At Cerro Gordo, his army is overrun by the Americans, and it happens so fast that when Santa Anna flees this time, he leaves his legs behind. Here is Santa Anna's leg. If you'd like to see Santa Anna's leg today, you need to go, I think it's Illinois, you need to go to Illinois or Indiana. I'll look it up again. An army regiment captured Santa Anna's leg, and after the war they refused to return it, and so it is, I think it's Illinois, it is still in a museum here in the United States as a trophy, and the United States or Indiana or Illinois refuses to give it back to the Mexican government. Like I said, there was two legs. The other leg that he had was a peg leg, and according to the story and the legend, this leg was used as a trophy. The peg leg was used as a bat to play baseball with by the battalion or regiment or whoever had taken it over. By August 1847, American troops are on the outskirts of Mexico City. After a truce fails to end the war, Scott's going to order a massive assault on Mexico City. It's a pretty bloody fight. Civilians and soldiers of Mexico City are going to defend it, but on April 14th, the Americans are going to capture it. There's a video link here that I'm probably going to Edpuzzle for you today for you to watch, just because it's only a few minutes, but it's super, super good. That kind of explains this whole thing. The fall of Mexico City ends the war. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, I know that's on the test, is the official end, signed in 1848. Mexico is going to turn over most of its northern territories to the United States. California, Nevada, Utah, most of Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Colorado, Wyoming, and the area claimed by Texas north of the Rio Grande River. I know for a fact, this is on the test too, this land, this chunk, is known as the Mexican Secession. It's the yellow right here, but that is what that's what we win. You know, back then, and when you win a war, you get the other guy's stuff. This is what we keep. Not this piece here, but this whole thing here is what we keep. A lot of people will always ask me, why didn't we take the whole thing? Why didn't we just take all of Mexico? That's an easy answer. I would, in class, usually let you think about it and try to answer yourself, but we're not in class, so I'll just give you the answer. If we had taken the whole thing, we would have had to have made those brown people who are Catholic for the vast majority, we'd have had to make them American citizens. And so most people weren't all right with that. And so to keep those brown Catholic people from being American citizens, we only took the parts that we wanted. And that is it. That's the Mexican Secession. Increase the United States, size of the United States by 25%. The U.S. is going to agree to pay $15 million. We offer them 30. They lose. We offer them 15 instead. Treaty was controversial. Some Americans wanted it all. I told you why we didn't, and it's going to be ratified in 1848. Okay, that only leaves one place left, and this is usually a fun day in class too. This is the Gadsden Purchase. It's going to be bought. It's going to be bought for $10 million in 1848. We paid $15 million for the whole other chunk. We paid $10 million for this little chunk. What is there? The answer is nothing. Why did we buy it? I'd ask you in class. I get all kinds of crazy answers to make the lines square, to this, to that. None of those are true. I'll give you the quick, easy answer, and then I'll give you the fun part about it real fast. By 1858, and we're awful close to the Civil War, by 1858, California, which is right here, California, the gold rush has been happening for 10 years. There's millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, billions of dollars worth of gold coming out of California. You don't want to leave that gold out there. You want to get that gold back to the banks in the East. The only way to do it at this point in time is through wagon or on ship, and all that's very, very dangerous. And so there's a race in 1858 between the northern free states and the southern slave states, and the race is to see who can get the transcontinental railroad built through their part of the country. I mean, ultimately, when you put down a railroad, we know that cities and towns and all this stuff, there's a lot of money involved in the telegraph wire. And so the northern states are trying to convince the government to build it through the northern states across the Great Plains. The southern states are trying to convince the federal government to build it through Texas and this way. And the reason the United States buys this, this is flat, right? If you build the transcontinental railroad across the upper part of the country, you're going to have to, that train's going to have to cross the Rocky Mountains somewhere. And so the thought process was, they bought this land here. Jefferson Davis is going to convince Congress to vote yes, and the president will sign it. Franklin Pierce, worst president, no, not Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, worst president ever. Excuse me. He's going to convince them to buy it because, as far as he's concerned, this makes the best route to come through here and then up into California. To connect that part of the country. And like I said, whoever gets it's going to make a lot of money. Here's the fun part of the story. If you're going to build a train, and you're going to run the train through here, and through the western part of Texas and New Mexico, you're going to need to be able to protect that train. And how do you protect that train? Well, you protect the train with the military. Okay, well, how's the military going to patrol the desert? They need to do it on horseback. The problem is horses don't do real well in the desert. And so here's your fun fact for the day. As an experiment to see if they'd be able to protect this route, the United States government is going to purchase a whole butt ton of camels. And for a very, very short period in American history, there was a camel cavalry that was experimenting out here on whether or not they could protect it on camels. I just think that's kind of funny. You can see a bunch of dudes with guns and uniforms on the top of camels going super slow through the middle of the desert. Anyways, this is my sense of humor. Okay, that's it. That's the unit. Monday, Tuesday will be the test. And I guess I'll see you again on Wednesday. We're getting awful close to being done. See ya.
If I